Hello, legends and super legends. Welcome to Veloharmony's subscriber hangout. Hope you guys have had a great week, a great weekend leading into this week. We did an epic ride today. I got another email from Christopher Roxbury, one of our supporters, and he had another excellent suggestion. I'm going to paraphrase. He said that, what do you know now that you wish you had known, a while back, earlier on in cycling? And just something to kind of lead into today's session. The biggest thing that I know today that I wish I knew when I used to compete or when I was new into cycling is really structured training, because it's so much easier maintaining my fitness today with less pain. Because when you don't know, you think you got to ride hard all the time to get in shape, and it actually ends up setting you back because you get burned out quicker. So yeah, knowing how to train properly, of course, fit. Hey, Paul's here. Cool. Paul's able to join us. So yeah, knowing how to train properly is the biggest thing I wish I knew. And also fit. That's how I got into the bike fit business, because even my coach didn't know how to do fit. Being comfortable on the bike allows you to do more work, and you do it efficiently and in great comfort. Hey, Chris. So I wish I had known how to train properly until our team got a coach. I was just riding, just go out and ride and, ride hard, and then you're tired and you can't do more the next day, so you got to rest. Hey, Larry. Nicholas Rizos. Now, Nicholas has become a super legend. Nicholas, one of the guys. Nicholas, welcome. Nicholas is now supporting the channel, just like Christopher Roxbury. These guys that support the channel, it means a lot to me, in that the more supporters I get, I can get away from the IT work and spend more time on this channel. And that's what's been happening. So I balance it off that way. So these guys are allowing me to do something I truly love and help all cyclists out there. That's why I call them super legends. So Nicholas, thanks for signing up on Patreon. His rewards will kick in early January. And so Nicholas has some things that he wants to work on, so he signed up. So I want to thank him for becoming a super legend. But what I was talking about was, those of you who just came in, hey, Abdullahi Munez and Ron Tyner. Hello, Ron. Dev Miller. Hey, Dev, that name is familiar. Yeah, Nicholas. Yeah, it means a lot to me, Nicholas. I know it's no big deal, but it's not so much the financial generosity. It's just the idea that people are willing to say, hey, you're doing something I like. Here's a little something for you to keep doing it. That means a lot. It's just a thought behind it. That's just the way I am. I have a different value system. It's just the idea. I never thought, in fact, the whole Patreon idea, and I will get back to what Christopher has suggested. The whole Patreon idea was not my idea. It was actually suggested by one of you guys. His name is Russell Baker. He's one of the early guys that started supporting the channel when we had just maybe a few hundred subscribers. He came up with the idea. He said, why don't you try this? I didn't know anything about Patreon. And so he sent me the link. And so that's great to see that it's a way for people to say, hey, man, I like what you're doing. Keep doing it. What do you do when you're from a long ride? You mean after a long ride? I'll get to you in a little bit, Abdullah. What I was saying is Christopher Roxbury, one of our super legends, said, what would you do differently if you had to do it again? So knowing what I know now, I wish I knew how to train when I raced. And I wish I had a perfect fit when I raced. But in that regard, that's what got me to where I got really proficient at bike fit, because I basically ended up using myself and then read and educated myself over many years, more than a decade, and got to where I reverse engineered the process. I didn't fall into the fit kit stuff and all these. Now they got red tool. They're just tools. And Paul and I talk about it all the time. Just because somebody works on your car with a Craftsman wrench doesn't make it a Craftsman repair of your car. It's still a tool that that person has to wield, and they need to have the skill to work on your car. I'm using that as an analogy. Don't fall for people that say, I got a red tool fit. It doesn't mean anything. That's just these guys selling something for thousands of dollars, and people who are not very qualified spending that money to get some kind of credibility. Steve Hogg does not have red tool fit. In fact, he has created his own little tools for fitting over the years. It's based on experience. It doesn't matter. Fit kit. I had a fit kit as a racer, and it was crap. You know, I ended up fitting myself after I paid for the fit kit. Some of you have been there. Brito, how you doing? Some of you have been there. So don't fall for that. Don't fall for the names. Fit kit, specialized body geometry, red tool. They're great to have if the person knows fit already. It's a tool they can use to help get you there. But nothing trumps the experience and the skill and somebody who communicates and gets feedback from you, because your feel trumps any kind of fit. The way you feel. You should feel great in that studio. Don't let somebody tell you you got to ride into the fit. That's a red herring. You run from that. Anyway, so yes, so to summarize, I wish I had a channel like this that would tell me how to do group ride, etiquette, all that kind of stuff I had to pick up, because people would look down on you a certain way, make little comments, and sometimes you can get, your morale can get affected if you don't know. That's the reason why I like here to give you guys information. So if someone says something, you know they don't know what the heck they're talking about, because you're already armed with information. So let's get right into it. Let's see. First guy here, Abdullah had a comment up there. He said, what do you do when you're from a long ride? I think what he means is, what do you do after a long ride? I think that's what he means, when from a long ride. It's no different than any ride. Here's Stefano Mancini. How you doing, my brother? The Italians are coming. So it's kind of like, hey, Noel Pagan. Noel did our remote fit. Noel just said, having a fit done by Elder. He's the best. Noel was one of the guys that did a remote fit, and it was just, he was a joy to work with. After a long ride, after any ride, the first thing I do is, we have coconut water here. Not that you have to do that, but basically we start the recovery process. You want to get nutrients in the body. Now, before the ride's over, you have to eat during the ride. Don't finish your ride hungry. My motto, one of the mantras I have is, never get hungry on the bike. The longer you're going to ride, you got to carry some stuff to eat, whatever it is. You guys know I carry granola bars, whatever you like to eat. Don't fall for, I got to buy power gel, or they got something called, I think, GU or GU. You don't have to buy those things. You can just make your own. There's some people can make their own stuff at home, because the stuff's expensive. Personally, I carry granola bar. I have the crunchy kind in the green thing. I've done videos with them. And then I have the other one that's almost like a syrupy style where the bar sticks together. The Nutri-Green, and you can get them at Sam's or Costco or whatever. They're inexpensive in a big box. I carry the taste in the winter, especially, man, it tastes good. Paul was just mentioning it on our ride, I think, yesterday. So you don't need to be buying these expensive prearranged stuff. What I do use in addition to that is the SIS nutrition gel. I like it because my body tolerates it, and you don't need water. You don't have to drink. It's not thick. It's not gooey. It's almost like juice. I don't know how they did it, but they have a winning formula. So when you're riding really hard and you feel a hunger pang, when you take that SIS nutrition gel, it just goes in within a few minutes, you get a pickup. What I usually do is, if I know there's a hard effort or climb coming, 10 minutes before that part of the ride, I take one of those gels just to make sure. So they're really good. I really like that, but I don't use them a whole lot alone. That's why I carry the granola bar, so you can spread it out, because, you know, and I get them on sale. They're on the website, the web store, recommended products. Look in there. I found a good price. I put them in there for that, you know, so we use that. But just know that you don't have to get up, eat some oatmeal, whatever it is, to start, because oatmeal's good. It will last you for several hours on the ride. Keep yourself fueled. So by fueling on the ride, afterwards, you don't need to do too much. Afterwards, I do a recovery, the High Five recovery powder. I mix it with Gatorade in a bottle, shake it up, and start that process. And within 2 hours, I eat something solid. What are you going to go out or eat at home? That first 2-hour window, the body processes glycogen really well. It restores you. And so the next day you can train. That's the key. Everybody can train. It's the people that recover faster that improve quicker. So you really got to work on that because everybody's different. You got to find out what kind of load you can handle. Don't overload yourself. Gradually build up. So you need a systematic plan. Don't just go out and ride. Let's see here. Yeah. Alpine Ibex, how you doing? He said, hi, Elder. Festive 500s is 8 full days. If I'm not mistaken, how are you planning to divide the ride? Thanks. Like I said, and one of the other things, right, this week, well, actually, it was a week or two ago, I think. We've already started preparing for that, Paul and I. So I've loaded, normally I only do the group rides on Strava. I only make it public. But every ride I've been doing in the last couple of weeks, including this week, it has been public. We're riding every day. Now, as a basis, we usually do no less than 50 kilometers a day. It's about a week, I believe, Ibex. So it's 300 kilometers. I mean, 500 kilometers, about 311 miles over 7 days. So you do about 50K a day. But we don't do it that way. We'll do long rides, you know, like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. We're going to do our regular schedule. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we ride. Because our schedule is ride, 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 off, if that makes sense. It's a pyramid. So the body gets to rest while you're still riding. So Tuesday is here, Wednesday is here, Thursday is here, Friday off. Now, for the Festive 500, with those 3 days, we'll probably have about 250K already. And then with the group rides, we'll just ride Saturday, Sunday, and finish it. But we'll probably do Friday as well, just spin, you know. So we're not going to change what we do. We'll just ride longer. We're not going to do 80K. We're going to do more than that. We'll probably do about 120 kilometers each time we go out. We did about 120 today. You know, it took us a little over 4 hours. I think 4 hours 40, something like that. So we're not going to change anything. That's the reason why we're prepared. So it's not like we're going to start. We're going to just wait for that week and then bump up the mileage. We started several weeks ago. So we'll have about 3 weeks of heavy volume riding before we begin the Festive 500. So it will just fit into our routine. That's how we're prepared for it. And we'll be able to just pile in the miles. By the time Thursday rolls around, we'll have more than half of what we need. And that's the way you want to do it. But generally, most people try to spread it out about 80K a day. That's about 50 miles. All right, let's go to, hey, Stephen Crane says evening. So he's somewhere on the other side of the planet. Wesley, Stephen, hey, Wesley, glad you could make it. Frosty said, Eldred, I'm 59 and my maximum heart rate looks like 160. Okay, that's a red herring, but I'll keep reading and then I'll clear it up. Watching your rides looks like you regularly go into the 170s. It's not a whole lot of fun. I wouldn't say regularly. Let's see. What's some of your older guys max either you ride with or coaching? Been doing zone training. Okay, Frosty 1. I don't do maximum heart rate because I consider it a fallacy. Maximum means you know, it's like your heart can't go any. I don't want to find what my maximum heart rate is. It's kind of like a car. I don't want to know what my maximum speed on the car is because it might break something. So you will find, not just me, but most coaches will train to what we call threshold heart rate. Threshold heart rate is the heart rate where your legs start turning rubbery to getting tight. You feel like you're losing form. Your breathing starts changing. That's your threshold. What we usually do is we do a threshold test. It's a 30-minute test, but we take the value from the last 20 minutes that you can hold, whatever heart rate you can hold for those 20 minutes. And it's pretty involved because it's a test you want to do on a day when you're fresh because it's hard, okay? Once we derive your threshold heart rate, that's what we use to calculate your training zones. And the reason why that's better is as you get fitter, your threshold heart rate will be different. That 160 you have, I don't believe that's your maximum at 59. You know, I don't think it's necessarily your maximum, but I don't want to know what it is. And even at 59, there are guys that will ride with heart rates higher than that, than 160. My heart rate that you see into the 170s, that's about 15 beats below my time trial pace. When I'm time trialing and it means something to me, my heart rate is 181 thereabouts, which is high. But I didn't just start doing that. I've been riding bikes for 30-some years. So what happens, the heart is a muscle. As you train more, the maximum heart rate will go up, meaning that what you can tolerate will increase, just like your muscle gets stronger, the heart gets stronger. But it doesn't mean you always want to be going up there. So that's why we train with the threshold heart rate. So what you want to find is your threshold. Do a threshold test. We offer that on the website. Do a threshold test, derive your zones, and focus on that. Because what's going to happen is the more you ride, it will take more and more work to get into. When I get into my 170s that you see, the group's broken up. Because the guys that are not as fit as I am, they're struggling. I mean, it's like we're in pieces. If you see 170, it's on, because that's like racing pace. That's racing pace. You will more likely see, especially if I'm pulling consistently at the front, you will see 150s to like 165-ish. That's like my sweet spot. So for the guys who are not as fit, they can hang in. They're working, but they can hang in. When I ride with these guys nowadays, I'm thinking about the pack. I'm not thinking about just riding away. Even the last 2 weeks ago, where we were doing a lot of attacks, I don't think my heart rate went much higher than maybe 168 thereabout. But it's still hard because I train a lot. So in those ranges, in that zone, I'm putting out a lot more power in that zone. And that's what I want you to focus on is you get your zones. And because when you're working, the leg muscles are different than your heart. You don't have to, the heart, as it gets fitter, it doesn't need to beat that fast anymore. So the stroke volume increases, and then in the morning, your heart rate is low. That's what they call low resting. So we use what we call heart rate reserve and the threshold heart rate to do that. It's very involved. I wanted to take the time to be a little more thorough, but we can't really get into it here. So if you're really serious about improving in a systematic way, which is what, when Chris asked, what would you change today if you had known then, you know, back when I raced? Yes, systematic training. I'm not just running around, because they used to tell us maximum heart rate minus your age, which was never even close. I mean, they need to scrub that from all the books. That is so wrong. So yeah, you need your threshold. You need the threshold test and derive your zones and get trained. Then you will maximize your time. So I can train for 2 hours and do more work than somebody who's riding around for 6 hours and hoping to get in shape, you know, because it's really focused. And I don't have to kill myself because I know what I'm working on that day. Because until you build capillaries, your fast won't be very fast. That's how come I can go fast very long. So when my heart rate gets in the 170s, because I've been conditioning myself, I don't feel like I'm gasping for air or getting dizzy and all of that. That's what I tell people. Like the guy who almost threw up. He got to a zone that he didn't prepare himself for. When you prepare properly, you can push more. So just keep that in mind. I know you're going to have more questions. There's no way I can answer that because it's very involved. You may want to consider one of our training plans or get the threshold test on the website under the cycling services, because that's what the guys I coach use. But don't look for maximum heart rate. I don't want to know what my maximum heart rate is. I don't want my heart to stop. So, you know, not that it necessarily will, but, you know, when you're getting for maximum heart rate, it's like you're seeing double at that point if you're really trying to get there. So it's not fun. Not a whole lot of coaches would tell you to do that. Nicholas, our super legend, says, I was in Austin, Texas, 2016 and did some rides. Hope I can come back and join you. Nicholas, we're actually in Houston, which is about 160 miles east of Austin. I did live there in the past, but we're in the Houston area. Planning a trip in the autumn of 2019, like watching your rides as sleeping pills. Okay. But yeah, we're actually in a neighboring city. Austin is the capital of Texas. It's not very far from where we are by car, less than 2 hours. They call it the Hill Country. It's a pretty little place. Yeah, so let's see. Frosty just typed heart rate. Let's see here. How do you ride with coaching? Been doing zone training. Looks like you're regular going to the 7. What's your... Oh, we got max. I know you're right. Yeah, so, I mean, just to summarize for you, Frosty, I don't know what the other guys that ride. The people that I coach, we don't try to find maximum. What we do is we derive it, because then every 3 to 6 months we retest If they follow the plan, they usually improve. In other words, instead, let's say if their threshold was 160 or 155, Paul's a good example. Paul, when Paul started, he'd get to 145, he'd be out of breath. Now we're going hard, and where he expects to be 165, his heart rate is like 140 something. He was just telling me about it a day or so ago. His heart rate's lower now for the same work that it used to be higher for, I mean. So yeah, as you get fitter, it changes, and then we'll retest and modify your zones. Okay, Abdullahi Munez, how many bikes do you need to become a pro? How many bikes? You need one. I say you don't need a lot of bikes. It's not the bikes that make you a pro. You need one bike to be a pro. When you become a pro, they'll give you bikes. No, you don't need a lot of bikes. What you need is you need to have high aerobic capacity and high anaerobic capacity. You have to be able to put down the power. Cycling is an aerobic sport, but there are periods of time where you got to do anaerobic work over that last hill or bridging up. You got to show the capacity to hold high sustained efforts. Because for somebody to hire you as a pro, you got to show that you have the capabilities for them to develop. Because when they're hiring you, they're not hiring you for right where you are. They're hiring for where they think you'll get to. They look at your potential. So no, they're not the bikes that make you a pro. That people are too much into stuff. You can only ride one bike. Somebody asked the last time, he was surprised I only have 3 bikes. So what I said was, well, I don't have a lot of stuff. That's how come I can ride. You don't need a lot of stuff to have, but if you can afford them, fine. But that's not what's going to make you. What's going to make you a pro if you're serious is putting your butt in the saddle and doing the work and getting a systematic training plan. There are no top amateurs. I can say that for a fact. The top guys have a plan because time is finite. They don't just ride around hoping to get in shape. They know what they're doing. So when you hear people talking about, a power meter or whatever, those guys don't just buy a power meter. They're buying a power meter because they want to maximize the effort they're doing to get them to somewhere because they're trying to achieve something. So they're using that systematically. They don't use it all the time. They have a day where they go and they're pushing that final 10%. Then they turn that sucker off and they just ride their bikes when they're doing endurance and stuff. They don't ride with power meters all the time looking at them. Some of those guys will tape the display, like on the SRMs, because they can't change them. They'll tape it off. They don't want to see it because you get sick of it. They only use the power meter for special efforts. So yes, don't go buying all this crap if you just want to ride your bike recreationally. Go and ride your bike and enjoy. You will improve. But if you really want to, okay, I want to hit this level or hit that level, or because you don't need all these gadgets if you're just gonna go out and hang and just ride, enjoy instead of all this stuff. I don't use a whole lot of crap because you can still get in shape without that. It's nice to have. It's not an absolute need. I'm not saying they're not good, but I'm just saying you don't have to have them. All you need is a bicycle with 2 wheels. Put on some clothes and go ride. Put a helmet on, cover your head. That's it. All right, let's see. Larry Earp says, can you ride if you then deemed by the doctor with high blood pressure and be prescribed 2 different high blood pressure pills and told not to ride? Well, I was in your boat years ago because my family has a history of high blood pressure. I stopped racing and got a corporate job and wearing suits and ties and sat around and started gaining weight. So I got to like 235. And this was probably 2003, 2004, something like that. I carried the weight. I'm a tall guy, so I could carry the weight, but I knew I had it, but people couldn't really tell who didn't know me. And so I had a physical, and the guy said he wanted to put, I never got on the pills. I didn't agree. I just started working out because I knew how to train and all that. So if you've been told not to ride, I'm a little concerned because a doctor telling you not to exercise defeats the purpose. That means what? You're relegated to these drugs forever? Because I know people who get on these things and they end up with their own little pharmacy because one side effect, they got to take another drug to counteract that. And so I'm a little skeptical that the doctor is telling you not to ride unless you're at the point where maybe strenuous activity is not recommended. then that means you don't have to ride hard. But why would he say not ride? Not ride is, I'm going to equate it to not exercise. That doesn't make any sense. So no, I don't know. I mean, you haven't given me enough information here. So I have to be careful because I think that riding is better. I had a guy, I don't remember who it is, but I had a guy who had numbers like yours, trained, went back and told his doctor. Well, the doctor did a test, his numbers got better. The doctor told the guy, maybe I should get a bike, because he told the doctor, I'm just riding my bike. And he got off the pills. So I don't understand why a doctor would tell you not to ride. So maybe you might want to get a second opinion, because exercise is the way to get rid of those pills. You don't want to be taking that crap for life. They don't know what all it does to your body. They're still learning. So yeah, so I don't know. Exercise is the way. You see, what happens is by sitting around in these Western societies, we get all these problems. They call them sedentary diseases. We're basically dying. So when you see all these guys sitting in traffic in their car, whatever, they're dying slowly. We were not meant to sit around. We're supposed to be walking around in the woods foraging for food. We're supposed to use our bodies. So so I don't know. Maybe you might want to find out whether he means don't go out and try to race anybody, but you can train in the aerobic zone and burn the fat and open up those gateways, because your heart will pump less when you get fit aerobically. It will release the pressure. That's how you get a low resting heart rate. And that's why I was talking about Paul saying that when he works out now, his heart rate is lower when he's working harder, because your heart now has no pressure. It's just releasing that blood, because your capillaries, you got more capillaries, and your whatever has been cleaned out, whatever was building up in there. So exercise is the key. I'm sure it's nothing new. You've heard that. Exercise the way, just using your body. So for him to say, don't ride, I don't know. So maybe he meant a particular kind of exercise. But aerobic exercise, start with walking, get on your bike, spin the little gears. I don't see how you can be told not to exercise unless you're having other issues that prevent you from getting on a bike. But you should be able to do some form of exercise. So I'll stop there until you give more information. But definitely you don't want to not exercise. That's what's killing us. Hey, Michael Farzam from Beverly Hills. Larry Earp, have not been on my bike in a year. That's a long time. Why is that? What's wrong? What's stopping you from getting on your bike? A year is a long time. The land down under. Michael Fernandez, greetings. He said, greetings from the land down under. Yeah, man. Larry, you got to get on your bike, man. If you love doing it, I don't know, whatever it is, you're going to have to, no, there's no way, man. I couldn't be off my bike that long. I enjoy it too much. Michael said, are you planning to come to Australia for a holiday? Not right now. That's a long journey, man. You guys are way on the other side of the world. I think it's like, tomorrow morning there? I'm looking at my world clock here. I've got an Adelaide stored on here. This is like a cycling hotbed. I think you guys are like, 9:13 a.m. That's tomorrow. So it's actually Thursday morning over there. That's like being on a time machine. It's really weird. Okay, let's see. Larry says, would like to make a nice comeback. What would be the best way? You have two options I can recommend. You haven't been on your bike a long time. You want to start slowly. If you want guidance, you can. We've got like a base training plan. The 12-week base training plan would be a good thing to start, because it's only 5.5 hours a week to start, and then it bumps up each week. That way you can do it yourself. It's one-time cost. But if you need regular guidance and you want coaching, you can sign up for our life and fitness coaching stuff on the website, Veloharmony.com, the cycling services. Start there, because since you've been off for a while, you want to ease back into it. Don't let your ego get you in trouble. Don't go out there try to do what you were doing a year ago. You want to do it slowly. When I met Paul a few years back, he'd been off a year. And but he was very focused, so he got a trainer. If you don't have an indoor trainer, get one. because the plan assumes you have one, because you need consistency. That's what your body thrives on. And you'd be amazed how quickly the body adapts the more frequently you ride. So our training plan, we don't make you kill yourself, but we make you do it frequently, you know, after you do your threshold test and so forth. So you need some kind of motivation, it sounds like, to get back on your bike, because it's not easy getting out there. You really have to have a goal that drives you. It's hard to get out and just get on the bike if you've been away for a long time. Because if you go, oh, I'm so behind or whatever, you don't need to start killing yourself. You can start with even a 15, 20-minute spin on the trainer. And, you know, if you have a trainer, that's great. But if you don't, when people sign up for those things, I tell them, get a trainer. It's the one we recommend is like right now it's like $200. When I bought it, it was $4 something. And I think it's the best trainer value-wise out there. So get one and get some kind of plan so we can get you back in shape easily with less pain. I assume your bike fits you, because if it's not comfortable, it will be hard to stay with it. Let's see. Michael said, thanks, man. Frosty, thanks. I have zones laid out. Won't hog the top. I operate steady in big climbs, 140 to 150 in shorter period in tougher sections, but 160 is the limit for now. Don't worry so much about your heart rate, Frosty. Just ride. Let your heart do what it wants to do. Pay attention to how you feel. That's more important. You come to a climb, even though you're saying, oh, I got 140, 150 in big climbs, whatever. Ride a tempo that feels good, then refer to what heart rate is popping up. Focus on how you feel first, then refer to the heart rate. Because if you don't feel right, it doesn't matter what the heart rate says. You need to feel good and climb it and enjoy the climb. If you watch the last group ride Saturday, we didn't go hard on the climb. We just rode the climb. Ride them. Enjoy it. Take in the sights. You will get fitter. Just riding hills is a quick way to get in shape. All right. Todd Morrell. Hey, Todd, how you been? He said, hey, finally caught up with you live. Nicholas. Envy everyone that can ride. I'm hibernating for now and at least 4 months. Minus degrees now until end of March. Trainers. Yes, use the trainers, Nicholas. I lived in New York. I lived in Manhattan for a while. I don't know where you are, but you pay your dues now. You keep your engine tuned. You don't need to kill yourself on a trainer. Just spin consistently, even if it's 30 minutes a day. Just train. Because when the weather clears up, you will have that fitness for the beautiful weather in the spring. But if you don't pay the dues now, then you're going to be catching up in the spring. And everybody who's been paying the dues in the basement or wherever they were will be flying. So yes, just treat that as a goal and stick with it. Okay. Benjamin says, preach it. Ron on the left. Hello, Elder. Hey, Ron, how you doing? In fact, I was just referring to something Ron said. Ron wrote on the group ride. Ron on your left, retired, he said, with all the division that we hear about, and, you know, it's good to see two buds. I'm paraphrasing, two buds on a ride. And I replied and told him that the division that we hear about is being pushed by these guys, CNN, MSNBC, because they think that's what people are going to watch. So they look for the outliers and the push. This country is not as divided as they push. Because when you mess with us, we band together. You guys know it's kind of like a family. You can fight with your sister, you can fight with your brother. But when somebody from outside come and mess with them, even if you guys are fighting, what do? You rally. So I told him, I said, it's not as bad as they preach. That's why I don't watch them anymore, because they want to decide what we want to hear instead of giving us information so we can make our own decisions. They want to come and give us opinions and all that crap. I just want the news. Just tell me what happened. I'll figure it out. So, yeah, so don't fall for that. The United States is still united, you know, and we'll get through this little patch that we're in. It's not as bad as they make it out to be, so just don't worry about that. All right, way to go. Let's go back to cycling here. Thanks for all the ride videos you produce. Oh, good, Dave. That's good. I like to hear that, because I do put a lot of hours in, because I know no way to do it. I can't do it any other way. I feel like it's a production, and I want it to be entertaining and keep people from getting bored. So that's good to hear when people say they're very informational. Yeah, that's the plan. I'm wondering what software you use to show the cadence of speed embedded in each video. It's called Verb Edit. Verb Edit software, VIRBEDIT, 2 words. It's made by the GoPro folks, and it's free. And you don't have to have their camera. Is it no, not GoPro. I'm sorry, I misspoke. It's made by the people that make the Garmin Verb camera. I don't own a Garmin Verb camera, but you can use that software with any camera you film with. You can film on your phone and sync it. So get the Verb Edit camera. It's free. Go on Google and search for VRB EDIT, 2 words. And you will find it and download the latest version and make it for Windows and Mac. And it's free, but you got to figure it out. It's free, but they're hoping that you'll sign up for their consulting so they can charge you. But if you're good with software, you'll be able to figure it out. It allows you to take any video clip, put it in there, and you have to synchronize it to your head unit. That's how I get the data. I think that's what you're looking at. The software does not do it for me. In other words, the software is a conduit. I have to pull the data from my head unit and get the video from the GoPro, and then I tell the software, on this scene, this is where we are on the map. That's where so I have to sync each clip because it splits them into clips. You sync it so the data makes sense. That means when I stop pedaling, it will say 0 cadence. If you don't sync it, the speeds will be off and everything. That's where they don't really show you how to do it, but you should be able to figure it out. If you need help with that, you might want to sign up for one of our consulting things so I can allocate time to it on the website and walk you through it. But that's what I use. So people that have the Garmin Verb, I don't think they rely too much on the software because the camera itself stores the data in there. But I like that you can use that software with any footage. You just got to make sure you have your head, the Verb Edit thing. Anyway, let's see. Let's see here. Don, thanks for the right video. Now, round on your left retired says stint in 2916. Cardiologist told me to ride 3 to 4 times a week to create capillaries that will. There you go. There you go. That's why I talk about those capillaries. And the other guy who was told not to ride, I'm a bit concerned unless he's having a problem that the doctor wants to protect him from. That's because you guys who've been here for a while, what did I talk about when you ride? Go slow to go fast. You build more capillaries, and so the pressure in your body when the heart pumps goes down because the heart has more lanes to get the blood out and get the toxins out of your muscles. That's how come I can go hard, and continue to go because you're recovering because you have more capillaries. That's the biggest difference. So by riding consistently, and that's the thing, by using your body, it's like your body creates what you need. But sitting around behind a desk or a cubicle for 8 hours a day, whatever, it's just bad for us. We're not supposed to be sitting around. So you see a lot of people that work in offices and then they get off, they go to the gym and they do something. That's how they try to balance it off. You got to use your body. You can't sit around all the time. And you age more gracefully when you're active. You don't get all these little issues with breathing problems and all the crap that we get. And I did that video about how bicycles change us. You basically, if you don't use your body, you just die slowly. These are just diseases you cannot avoid. So the sedentary lifestyle is just really terrible. And you think after all this time, they would try to rework it to where maybe you shouldn't be working 8 hours a day, maybe 4 to 6, so you have more time for you. I don't know. But so, some of us give up stuff so we can have more time. And that's another reason when people come here and they say, oh, we like what you're doing here with the channel. I get a little emotional. I'm humbled by people contributing to the channel. What that is allowing me to do is to say, you know what? I don't need to get on an airplane to go to some company to do IT consulting. What I'm going to do is I'm going to ride for 3 hours, and then I'm going to come and make a video for the channel or do whatever. It allows me to devote more time to the channel and other things and basically be local and watch my girls grow instead of staying in hotels all the time. Been there, I've done that. I used to travel 52 weeks a year, living in hotels, but I did exercise, those stationary bikes in the pool and so forth. So yeah, you can do it. You can still have the job, but it's tough. You end up working late and then you're tired because you didn't eat. You skip meals and then your energy level's down. Then you binge. It ends up being a cycle. Before you know it, you got 30 pounds. And you're like, how the heck did that happen? So yeah. So we gotta be vigilant. That's what this channel is about, to get you to pay attention to yourself. Invest in yourself. Let's see here. Nicholas, agree. Ride my bike have changed my life. There you go. No pills. And everything is better, especially my mental health. You got that right. Yeah, I'm sure your significant others and your people around you appreciate that. You know, I tell you guys all the time, when I don't ride, my wife's more concerned than me. She's like, what's wrong? You know, go ride your bike. You know, so it's kind of cool. And Paul and I talk about it all the time. We got the right partner because riding is not an issue. I don't need to hide anything. She wants me to go ride. So that tells me she wants me around because it keeps me healthy. I can play with my girls. I can pick them up, you know. It's kind of like cool. You know, we do piggyback rides and all that stuff. And there are guys my age can't do that with their kids. And so, you know, all of it comes together. So put your health number one. Because when you got to help, when you're healthy, then, yeah, the job will be there because you're able to do the job. Don't put the job on top. Move it underneath. Let it support your life. Yeah, there we go. Okay, Michael, correct. It is Thursday. Oh, yeah. Michael's the land down under talking about it, the next day. Yeah, I keep the world clock on these guys, the Adelaide and all these cycling meccas, I call them. I kind of like to know what's going. It's kind of cool to know. When I was growing up as a kid, we didn't know what time it was somewhere else. You know, thanks to the iPhone now and all this stuff. You know, they laughed at Steve Jobs when he brought the iPhone, but this stuff, it's like revolutionary. I remember when somebody sending me a document on the phone, I couldn't even read it without add-ons to open an Excel document. Now you can read anything. It's really cool. We take it for granted, but I remember 2009, I believe. I don't know when it came out. I think it was, yeah, I don't know. Maybe not that year, but I remember. Let's see here. Chris says, Paul, did you sell your Texas issues? And buy a Kish. Chris is messing with Paul because Paul snuck his Cervelo out. Chris said Paul snuck his Cervelo out when nobody was looking. So Benjamin Morales, he said, are you thinking about doing the Houston to Austin ride next year? I think you're talking about the MS 150. And just peg me if I'm right, Benjamin Morales. I've done the MS before. I'm not going to do it anymore. The MS has a lot of what I call inexperienced riders. It's actually very unsafe because they're not trying to educate the riders. And it has just gotten out of hand. They started the MS as a good thing to benefit multiple sclerosis. It's just gotten more and more expensive. And I'm tired of having to harass the people I know for contributions. So whenever I would do it, I would pay $400 to do it because I didn't want to bother people I know. I don't care for the fundraising. It's just a hassle. So I would always just pay. And the last time I did it, I paid the $400 and there were things they're supposed to give you like the bandana and all the little things. They just let things slide. It's like they're collecting more money and providing less services. Then you got to find a place to stay. And there's a hassle halfway between here if that's the ride you're talking. So I'm just turned off of it. I don't do it. I mean, I like the cause that they're doing and everything. They get a good turnout, but they're not making it to where it's reasonable. You got to spend the night in LaGrange and some other place. You got to search for a hotel, and it's not easy. It's a hassle. So if I'm paying $400 to do a ride, then I got to pay $200-300 for a room. The last thing I need to be concerned about is the food being good at the rest stops and all that. And everything just seemed to be going down. They get these cheap drinks. They called it. It wasn't even Gatorade. It was like Cider Max or something, the old stuff. They weren't mixed properly. They just didn't seem, I wasn't impressed. And I just told Paul. So the first time I met Paul that year, Paul ended up sagging that ride. He drove behind us in his truck. And because of the weather, we only did half because they canceled the ride to Austin. So we got to the LaGrange area and we stopped and came back. But it was just an experience for what I spent. It didn't seem to get value. And they didn't seem to be trying to improve it. And you got people riding bikes that don't look when they're changing lanes. So it was like, man, like Russian roulette. I was like, I don't need that. So no, I'm not going to be doing it. We'll do other rides in the area and we'll film them. Other rides in Texas, but not the MS 150. I wish them well from a distance. There's a lot of people at my level that don't do it anymore for those reasons that I described. It just seems they're not putting much into it. Dev says, I've been road biking now for 2 years. It's the best thing that ever happened to me. I took your advice and invested in a cycling kit. Well, good, Dev. Yeah, I mean, invest in your health, man. Invest in yourself. I always tell, you're working. If you're working, most of that paycheck needs to go to you. If it's not, then you got to reevaluate. That's the whole reason you leaving your house early in the morning, go to some job. You should be keeping most of the money. You shouldn't be paying other people. So, you know, write all your bills down. Put it in Excel. When you see all the crap you spend money on, you'd be like, wow. Because we don't see it. It just trickles out. You know, you end up writing a check to everybody and you don't write yourself one. So, no. Good. That's good, yeah. Oh, man. Oh, so Paul replied to Chris. He said, that's a plan for the future for the Kish bike. I will be adding the packaging on the website for the Kish, a custom bike package as far as people who want a custom bike and the process, so we can handle that for people. And then I'll also do something maybe on my computer where I show you the process and why you might want to have us do it for you, because some of the stuff he asks for, not just him, all the builders, if you mess up on the measurements, you end up with the wrong bike. It's not worth it. Okay, so Larry Earp, thank you so much. And I do have a trainer and definitely going to do my best to get your entry program for cycling. Yeah, I think, yeah, Larry. Was Larry the guy who the doctor said not to, let me make sure, not to work out? I'm going to go back a little bit here. Or was it Frosty? No, I think it was Larry. I just want to make sure. Oh, no, Larry hasn't been on his bike in a year. Okay, that's a different person. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, it's hard, Larry. Just start with a few minutes at a time. Put the bike on the trainer in front of your favorite program and just spin. You don't need any heart rate monitor, nothing. Just set the trainer on a reasonable resistance and use your gears. You don't need to crank it all up. You don't need to do it hard. Just start slowly. Before you know it, when it starts getting easier, you will change gears. So just start slowly. Just get at it. Get out there. Go around the neighborhood if the weather allows where you are. Okay. So after this, yeah, Frankie Velo, I still don't have a heart rate monitor. Frankie, you don't need a heart rate monitor. It's nice to have, because why? Sometimes you go out and the wind's behind you on a bicycle, you'll be flying and not working hard. I don't look at my monitor. I've said it. I glance from time to time. What makes me glance at it, if I hit a hill and the sensations I get are, let's say, uncomfortable, I want to see what my heart is putting out at that moment, because sometimes it's lagging anyway. Or if the sensation is great and I'm flying up this hill, I'll glance at the heart rate to see what's popping up. What heart rate am I enjoying so much? What heart rate is hurting? That's what I use it for. So I periodically glance when things change. My breathing changes. What's making my breathing change? If my breathing is changing early, like a low heart rate, like the gentleman who said his is 160 and his breathing starts changing at 145, I want to note, why is my breathing changing at 145? Then in my mind, I'm like, did I sleep enough? That's what I use it for. I go back. It is the same thing with the people I coach. When I start coaching these guys, they probably don't understand it. First thing I do is I tell them, I need you to just do this for 6 weeks. And based on the days they say they have available, I look at how, I tell them every Monday, send me what you did, your average heart rate, whatever, from your workouts, every Monday for each workout. I look to see who's doing it consistently. That's the key. And then I ask them for feedback, like what's his name? Jamal's real good at that. Action Jackson, he'll say, I felt tired, or this was going on, whatever. What's important is that it's not just riding the bike. It is your whole life. If you didn't sleep well the night before, for whatever reason, and then you go on the bike, it is possible that something you were able to handle might seem harder. And then you need to know that day, don't ride so hard. Back off, because your body's tired. Doesn't mean stop riding. Drop the intensity. That's what those things are for. Now, let's say you don't have a heart rate monitor, you're out there, you're riding, and your breathing changes. It's the same thing. You don't want to get to where you have to stop. So you back off so you can continue. It's called pacing. But without anything on a bicycle, it's hard. You have to really be good at your, what I call RPE, rate of perceived exertion. Basically, on a scale of 1 to 5, do I feel like I'm doing something that's at my max, or am I in the middle, or am I 3/4? If you can do that really well, you don't need a heart rate monitor. I've done many rides without heart rate monitor. I don't have a power meter right now. I had it before, but it just kept breaking, and it got to be a hassle. The power meters, I've been doing some research on stages, those of you who have them. And whether it has happened to you or not, you need to understand, I have people I coach that is constantly breaking on them. It just doesn't work. And then I've read articles online from other people in forums. I try to keep up in the cycling forums. The stages has a problem with water getting in there. Now, they've tried to address it. Some of you may know. They try to address it on the newer ones. You know, water getting in the rain or whatever. Battery issues. When you change the battery, it's a hassle to get it to like wake up. You put a new battery in there. So those kind of things are frustrating the owners. Now, a lot of stages owners that have gone through, you know, I've noticed the company's probably been good about replacing them and so forth. But sometimes you may have to send in your crank arm. And so how do you ride without your crank arm if you only got one bike? Those kind of things. So is it really worth the headache? If you're going to pay, say, $399, $699, whatever they pay for the dual or whatever, you're paying $700 and then you can't ride your bike because you got to send the crank arm because the crap broke. Is it really worth that? That's the thing. Now, they're not all unreliable. They've got many kinds out there. So do your research if you're going to buy one of these things so it doesn't interfere with your riding. It's a hassle to have to not be able to exercise because of a gadget. All you need to exercise is your body and the bike. All that other stuff is extra. So don't let it hold you up. So just make sure that you do your research before you decide which one you're going to choose, because they're not inexpensive. Why pay money for something that's going to take away from your enjoyment? It should add to it. And they're pushing these things out so quickly. They don't test it. They use us to test it. And then it can be a detriment to you. But you don't have to have any of that stuff. Just go ride. If you're riding with a group, my coach told me, if you're at the front, you're going fast enough. You know, you don't need them. So yeah, you know, if you're disciplined enough, you can do it. All right, let's see. So yeah, Jerome Meisman says cycling is the best medicine. Yeah, cycling, running, swimming, exercise. And you want to do something to stay with exercise, it needs to be something you enjoy. So it doesn't become a chore. So if you enjoy running, by all means, run. You enjoy swimming, by all means, swim. We love cycling. That's why we're here. No one has to tell me to go ride. I love riding my bicycle. It's that simple, you know. But I want you guys to know, not every ride I go out, I'm messing with that computer. I turned that. In fact, today I forgot to turn it on. I think we're about 1 kilometer from the house. Then I turned it on because I don't really care that much. The kilometers are in my legs. I don't care about Strava. Some guy asked, should I turn on my computer when I leave the house or when I get to where I'm going to do the workout? I told him turn it on when you leave the house because he wants to track everything. But it doesn't mean anything. Your body doesn't care what is on Strava or wherever. As long as you're doing the work, that's all that matters. So I don't get hung up on that stuff. I turn it on because what I like to know is how many hours. I like the fact that it tracks my time. How many hours did I do this week? That's what I look at. I look at hours because we don't control the average speed and how much we cover. With the group, we cover more, of course. But I want you to understand that by yourself, you're going to go slower. That's okay, speed-wise. But it's the effort that needs to be the same. Whether it's zone 2, zone 3, that zone will be the same. But you're riding solo, your speed will be a little less than when you're drafting a fast-going group because it's easier, you know. So just don't get hung up on speed. Just go out, ride your bike. A lot of riders will take the computer off the front, just put it in their pocket and go when they're out there. It's still tracking. They just don't want to see it. That's you know, that's out there. It doesn't make the news, but yeah, they get tired of all that stuff. You feel like you're in a lab if you get too hung up on it. Let's see here. Jerome said I talk out of experience. Yeah, cycling is the best medicine. Yeah, I agree. I feel great when I ride my bike. I can tell you why. It's like I breathe and I feel the air into my lungs. Everything just seems to be cleaned out. It's like it cleans out your pipes. And sometimes you leave congested and you ride in the cold weather and your nose is running. By the time you're done, everything's cleared up. It's, you know, it has its moments. Let's see here. Should I take a career in cycling? Is it worth it? I don't know if you have the potential. I mean, you have to make sure what kind of Palmares you have. I don't know. When you say, is it worth it? I don't know what it means. It needs to be worth it to you. This is Abdullahi Munez. If you love cycling and you think that you have the capability to do it for a living, it's going to come from whether you've competed against similar-minded cyclists, whatever level you're at, and to see where you stack up. You know, because for a team to hire you, you've got to have some results. You know, what big races have you won? That's going to get their attention. So yeah, when you say, is it worth it? I don't know if you mean monetary or whatever, because if you're good enough, yeah, the contract, they can be lucrative. Not everybody who's just like in the world, not everybody that has a job is making a big salary. There are a lot of cyclists can barely keep the lights on, but they love it. And that's what they want to do. And I think that's worth it to them because they get to do what they love. And then they don't forego the big house and all that crap because they're doing what they love. I think it's more important to do what you love because no one is going to have to get you out of bed in the morning. When it's Saturday morning and that alarm goes, sometimes the alarm won't even go off on my phone. I'm up. I get up before the alarm because I love going out to ride. You know, so yeah, it's worth it if you love cycling. It's not about the money necessarily. It's sometimes the money comes along, but you don't just foolishly go into it unless you feel like you have the talent for that level. That's the key. So you can go to some of the big events, maybe talk to some people that have teams and see what they're looking for and see if you have what they're interested in. So let's see. Chris Roxbury says, let's see here. All right. Elder, show us that t-shirt. You should put some on the website for people to buy. That's the Veloharmony team, Veloharmony. That's Chris. Yeah, it's okay. I mean, it's just I got it through the company called Vistaprint. I think Paul has one. I don't know. I just got it for us. We take them to the rides and so forth. Yeah, I can put some on the website. Yeah, I may do that. I'll stick it out there. They make them pretty quickly. It doesn't take long. This is the design from the Channels mural. That's on our jersey. And basically it's printed on here. It's pretty solid. I like it. But it's just a Team Veloharmony black. It comes in different colors. And so, yeah, I think, Chris, that's good. Let me make a note of that. I will get different colors and stick them on the website so people can get some of the team stuff. Let's see. Team T-shirt. Yeah, we've had different iterations of them, so I'll put various different designs. It's a nice shirt. I like. We took it at the group ride. Paul has one. He has the older one as well. Let's see here. Bruce L., my good friend I ride with is a doctor. If I have any in-ride issue, I can get instant feedback with no copay. That's funny. In-ride issues. Okay. That's funny. That's Bruce L. Nicholas says, all right. I'm trying to skip through some of the private conversations here. Okay, he said, Nicholas says, benefited a lot from all your fit videos. I appreciate that, Nicholas. Nicholas, one of our super legends now. He said, done some adjustments and big difference. As I said, really looking forward to a bike fit in January. Awesome feeling when the ride becomes nicer. Yeah, the bike just fits. You know, I mean, it's just, you can really get into the pedals because you can put your weight on your sit bones and just let your legs flow. So yeah, I think Nicholas going to do a remote fit, I believe. Jerome says, does your wife have a sister who is single? I don't know. I know where you're getting at, Jerome. Yes, the way it worked. When I met my wife, I made it clear to her the bike was here to stay. I said, that's my thing. It's what I do. And so she would watch the cycle when we're dating. She would watch the European races with me and all that. And she'd ask questions like, aren't these guys? Some of the questions were a little annoying. She said, "The professionals, why are they crashing so much?" And there was a point because Paul and I have talked about it. Those guys do crash a lot. Some of that crashes are stupid. I'm like, come on, man. You ride bikes every day. They come around a corner and just fall. Some of the crashes, I'm like, I don't know. So she would ask that. I said, yeah, the people, even though they're pros, she said, yeah, but it seemed to fall a lot, especially in the tours. And that was what, but the fact that she was interested in that, but then she got to see how much I was into it. And one thing, fellas, there is a movie. What is the name of it? Is it Goodfellas? There's a movie where there's a kid there's a kid who's influenced by this mobster, and he's looking to the mobster as a role model. His dad, I think played by Robert De Niro, is not happy about it. But the mobster tells the kid's going on a date, and the mobster says, when you go on that date, when you pick up the girl, open the door for her, let her get in the car, you close the door. You leave your door locked. If she doesn't reach over and pull the knob, get rid of her as soon as possible. And I kind of smiled because I knew what he meant. You need to find somebody who wants the best for you, not somebody who's got their own little, agenda. That's the key. You let them know, this is what I do. This is what I'm into. Take it or leave it. It's not going anywhere. That's just the way it is. Lay your cards on the table. They want to play games. That's their problem. Don't worry about it. Yeah. So no, they're not that hard to find. They're out there. You just got to level with them, because everybody else want to play games. Let them know what it is. Let it all hang out. And then if they stick around, yeah, they want to be around. You don't need to put on a show. Just be yourself. Let's see here. Robert Tangler saying hello, but I cannot stay. I look forward to replay. All right, Robert. Robert's my neighbor here in Tomball. Robert, we're in your area yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday. We rode out to Tomball, Texas. That's how they say it with a drawl. Stephen Crane, have you heard about Sky pulling the sponsorship of the team at the end of next season? No, I have not. That's news to me. I guess I'll have to look it up. I wonder who's going to take over. I'm sure they'll find somebody because that program is serious. Hey, Psycho Warrior X. So Eric Thomas says, first time here. Glad to have you, Eric. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. This is like no other. This is the educational tour de force for cycling. Nicholas says, ha, my wife sends me down to the basement when I get grumpy, and I'm not allowed to come up until I've done some kick. There you go. You got the right woman. That's what my wife told me. She said, when you go and ride, you come back in such a good mood. And so she said, she will tell you, go ride your bike. Yeah, my wife, everything's planned around my rides. I've mentioned it before. She puts it up there. It's not relegated. She got, anytime people call, she's like, it's got to be after his ride. If it's on the weekend. So yeah, that's the way, because she knows it's important. So you're with the right person when what's important to you is important to them, and vice versa. What's important to her is important to me. The same way. I don't try to force her. She has a bike. It's been sitting around. She used to ride with me. She used to draft, all that stuff. I taught her all of that. But she's just not into it. Since the kids got here, she's just not. I don't bother her. I keep the bike ready whenever she's in the mood. We'll go for a ride. But I got to put it in like my 39.28, and I'm barely spinning, and then she's struggling. And I thought that's what you get for not working out. So, we used to ride to where I would ride with her on my easy days, and she could keep up. Now, I don't even pedal much when I ride with her, but it's just good when she wants me to go, and we go for a little ride. But it's far and few between. She's just not that into it anymore. And you just have to go ahead and let it be. You don't want to pressure her. So yeah, so I'll leave it alone. All right, let's see here. These guys are chatting, so I'm skipping through. Eric says, cold weather mask on eBay. Mine is great. Yeah. If if you're in a very cold area and it's just, like I said, below freezing, it's not a lot of fun being out there. That stuff hurts your skin. Days like that, we don't get them here that much. We might get 33 in the morning. Like yesterday, it was 33 Fahrenheit, which is what, probably 2C maybe. And then within an hour, it was like 5, So we were riding, like today, it was like balmy. For us, today it was like 12C when we started, and it got to like 15C. Then it started dropping back down. It was supposed to get rain tomorrow. So it's very moderate to where, yeah, you wear stuff, but it's not terribly cold. So if it's that cold, just do a 45-minute ride on the trainer, whatever you can handle. And if you want to do a longer ride on the trainer, break it up. Do a little bit in the morning, go over your day, come back in the evening, but don't do it close to bedtime. Give yourself several hours before bedtime. For me, if I work out too close to bedtime, I can't sleep. Then I'm all wound up. So yeah, it messes up your sleep. Okay, let's see here. Stages power meter, carbon BB30, $910.86. This is DPC2 is giving us the price of a power meter for $910.86. Man, the kind of kit I can get. Woo-wee! And on sale, I could have a whole wardrobe of the Rafa stuff. $910 will buy me a lot of stuff. No way I'm going to be spending that on a power meter just to tell me what I'm already doing. I don't want to know what watts I'm putting out. All that is I'm there. That's all that matters to me. I don't need to know that badly. Those prices are going to have to come down. That's a lot of money. Yeah, the carbon. And I'm glad you put carbon DPC2 because that's the thing. When it came out, it was only on Shimano and stuff. They didn't have carbon. All I have is carbon, which is the Campy carbon. So $910 for the carbon. I don't know what I paid for my whole super record grouper, but that's probably half the price. You see how crazy the pricing is? A whole group set might be $2,000 something if you source it wholesale. So that's half the price of an entire super record group set wholesale for one crank arm with a power meter on it. That tells you, oh, you're doing 600 watts. I don't need to know that badly. So Wesley Stevens says, I would like to get a customized titanium bike in the future. Are most of your bike measurements for customized bikes done remotely or in Houston? We can do it remotely, Wesley. The challenge is, for a guy like you, it's going to be a no-brainer because I've already helped you with remote fit that you're happy with. So we'll probably use the same numbers and put that in our software. The challenge is that people don't necessarily know how to measure. So, but when we do the remote fit, I show them. I have a video specifically how to use it. I think you are privy to that as well. So no, it's not practical to have people come down here in Houston. And in fact, because we've been sponsored by Kish, I will be putting a service on there. I mentioned it earlier on the website for getting a bike done through Kish with our assistance. So where we do everything, and it would include the price of the remote fit that you were privy to, because the remote fit, the bike sizing, all of that has to be done. Not so much a full remote fit, but most likely the bike sizing, the biggest thing. But I try to do the fit so I can get the stem, the shoulder measurement, your reach, all of that. So I'm building that to put that together. But yeah, it's going to be available remotely as well. You won't have to. But what I will do is combine a package deal where remote fit, servicing, and meaning that we do the measurements and everything and basically fill the paperwork out for Kish so that they can build you the bike that fits you, whether you're local or not. That's the stuff I'm working on putting together to get loaded. So it will be for people who are local and non-local. That's just everything we're doing here. I'm going to have to accommodate people that are not in Houston. I don't want to restrict it to just Houston. Okay, so Todd Morrell, if you get a fit on one bike and you have a second bike, can you just use the same measurement, or is a fit needed for each bike? Great question, Todd. The fit can be carried over only if the dimensions, meaning the seat tube angle, top tube length, head tube angle are the same. Then you can carry it. They're very rarely the same because you probably don't have the same brand. Like you're probably not gonna have two Cannondales in the same size. So you probably have a Trek and a Cannondale, something like that, and they're different. So because their seat angles are different, yeah, you may need another fit. Now, as far as the saddle position, if you have the same brand of saddle and you had a fit and we determined your saddle setback, so then you can set the saddle the same. But what's going to change is your reach, meaning this frame is different. So to just give you the short answer is, unless the frames are exact, you will need different fits. That's normal. All my bikes that you see hanging in the studio have the same dimensions, but the fits are different, if that makes sense, meaning that the Colnago, the seat angle on the Colnago was this way. My customs, this way. So what that meant is, for the Colnago, I had to use a different seat post to put the seat in the same position because it was too far forward. So I ended up in the same position doing different things on the Colnago than the other ones. And then the blue bike, he made the top tube longer because it was sloping. So I needed a shorter stem on that one, if that makes sense. So the stems are all different, but it got me into the same reach. That's why you need different fits, because you will need a different stem for another bike to put you in the same position. That's why when we do it, we measure your bike and we measure your head tube and all of that. So when we do frame sizing, I recommend to people what head tube height to get. Don't get ones that are too long, you know, and so forth. That's the reason why if you take a frame off the shelf that's too small for you, or let's say you're supposed to ride a 52 and you buy a 50, the top tube might be too short. Then you need a long stem. One of the guys, Noel Pagan, who commented earlier, when we're fitting him, his biggest challenge was everything here felt bunched up in the cockpit. So we got him a 15-centimeter stem. That was the longest commercially available. And I think it had a -6 degree or something like that. I was trying to get him a -17. But we're able to get him close. But he understood that because of the limitation of the top tube, and he's a big guy with long arms, you know, that's why I said, let's get you the longest available stem. And I think Wesley Stephen was another one. We got a very long stem, similar angle to what he had, and we're able to get him there. So getting bikes off the shelf, you kind of want to know within reason. That's why you want to do a bike sizing if you're going to buy off the shelf. So you know, okay, I need to get something with at least 56-centimeter top tube length, or this angle needs to be no more than 73 so I can get my saddle back far enough without buying these seriously setback seat posts. You know? So yeah, it's a science. Let's see here. DPC2, my 1998 Colnago Dream these days costs a few hundred more for the frame. DPC2 is talking about the power meter and his bike frame. $910. Yeah, you go on eBay, you can buy a whole bike for that and probably have change. That's what I'm talking about. How much of the power meter really worth to you? No, $910. I'll wait and get some nice kit, you know, and put it together. I'd much rather do that than to be buying a little plastic sticker thing that sits on. And then half the time you change the battery, you don't want to wake up or water gets in there. The stories I've heard about those things, for what they sell them for, please. Then you got to hassle. I mean, they do come through, but you got to hassle with them to get it done. This is George Aranita. He says, good morning, legends and super legends from Hong Kong. Well, welcome. He's all the way on the other side of the world. Chris says, Chris Roxbury said, I read somewhere that you had problems with the premium Garmin heart rate and went back to the standard. Yes, that is correct. It's funny they call it premium. It was junk. What Chris is talking about is Garmin makes a heart rate monitor belt that is very soft, nice and cushy. They call it premium. And what happened is I would put it on and it would say my heart rate was 230 beats a minute standing. Then during the ride, you'd be riding. Once it settles in, it would just be spiking. it was just unreliable. And 3 months after buying it, it died. So I went back to the original one that has hard rubber all here and just the soft strap in the back. And that I've been using for years. It's bomb-proof. It just works. So yeah, forget the premium. Buy the regular. It costs less and it works. So go figure. Yes, that's what he's talking about. Yeah. All right, let's see here. Larry Earp. Yes, you're right about clean air. When you're out cycling, sometimes your lungs be so open you can smell somebody. You know, it's funny. You can smell somebody smoking a cigarette a block away. It's funny, Larry. Today's ride, we were riding and cars passed, and we don't know which car. For about half a kilometer, we continued to smell cigarettes. There was no other human around. So someone in one of those vehicles had been smoking, and it just stayed there. And I mentioned it to Paul. Like it ruined the air for that part of the journey, you know. Let's see here. Frosty 1. What category ride would you say your weekly rides are? Okay. Local club lists the A, B, C, B+, C+. Just curious how varied my training has been done so I can keep up with local rides. Okay. We've got all grades in that group because in fact, when most shows up, it's like A+. I don't really want to grade myself. Paul Ilonga might probably say I'm A or maybe B+. I don't know. But if Mo's there, I'm there, Jerry's there. Even when they're not, we have A, B, C, D, and E. Because on Sunday's ride that you saw, we ended up losing some members. That's why I always talk about when I'm at the front, I'm thinking about there's a reason the guys at the back. There's when you're not very fit or you're not very experienced, you're uncomfortable. Because first of all, you just started doing this, you're not very fast, and where you're not likely to be at the front. And in a way, it's counterproductive because you actually should be a little further up so you can not have to respond to that, what they call the yo-yo effect. Like we've already gone over the climb and you're on the climb and we're already going downhill and you're still climbing. But newer riders have a tendency to stay at the back. They're just not comfortable getting in the mix. So what I do when I'm at the front, I make sure I keep the pace steady because then they can get some kind of a rhythm. When it changes like that, they're not ready for that. Our rides are all grades. Now, what are your club calling it? A, B, C, C+? That's the stuff they come up with. It's hard to grade. Some rides will say we have 16 to 18 miles an hour or 20 plus. You know, here, that's what they do. 20 plus, meaning the fast guys. And that's kind of red herring because we can't control that. If we're going into a stiff wind, I'm not going to be doing 20 plus. You know? So, yeah, but they use that as a grade. So our rides that you see, all grades are together. And what ends up happening, we have to wait for the CDE guys. So periodically we regroup. But what really ends up happening is at Taco Corner, the CDE guys turn around because they realize we can't continue to do this. So they go back home. They do a shorter ride. And then the faster guys continue and do longer ride because I want to do more on Saturday. So all grades are together and they don't recognize that. That's not my group. It's just a group we hook up with. You know, we visit different groups. And so Team RR seems to like the area of town. I like the hills. So, you know, it just makes sense. It makes you work. But all of them are groups. Some groups will have multiple, but the road determines that. You've probably been on a ride where the groups just split up on the road. And you end up with multiple groups on the road, and then you guys regroup, which I think is good. Because when I used to race, that's what makes you work harder. Because you can see that group, and you're in C, and you're like, man, I want to work to where I can get to B eventually. And it keeps you coming back every week. They're ambitious people. Not everybody's ambitious. People coming out for different reasons. So, yeah, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that you learn how to ride smart. Don't leave gaps. Sit in the draft. Save your energy. for the little climbs or the areas where the group drops the hammer so that you're ready to work there. That's what matters. Don't worry too much about the grades. Just make sure that if you can't keep up 1 week with that group that pulls away, make that a goal. Keep riding. Eventually, you'll be able to get up there. Okay. So let's see here. Gravel cruncher of Europe are suffering from a touch of the GRIPPE. I'm not sure what that was, but was able to try out my new suspension stem. All right, let's see. I'm not sure what that is. Any disadvantage to racing criterium on a titanium frame? None that I can think of. I'm not sure why people think carbon is an advantage. They got some carbons that are heavier than steel. They're not all created equal. You know, and you have to pay a lot of money for the top ones because the engineering matters. Those fibers that they lay, they have different technology in there. There's some of them that are very advanced, like the Cervelos, and they're doing different things. Like there's a new Cervelo that came out, and they've got articles about it. So if you're really crazy about carbon, you want to get the brands. Don't buy the unknowns because you don't know how they make their carbon. There's some carbon frames that feel dead. So don't get hung up on that. That's just marketing. Those guys in the pro ranks are riding them because they're giving it to them. If they gave them titanium, they'd ride it. But they're giving, everybody's doing carbon and pushing that out. You don't need it. You get a titanium. I ride a titanium bike. It doesn't slow me down. It doesn't matter. You need to just train for it. If you're going to do criterium, then you need to focus on speed. You need to get snap, high cadence, acceleration. You need to ride like a Ferrari. That's what you need in a criterium. It's a different discipline. So let's see. Craig Belton said hello. Hi, Craig. Abdullahi Munez says I'm not sure what swearing, or he meant swearing related in cycling. You need to have a big heart if you want to become a cyclist. My trainer told me that. Is that true? A big heart? Does he mean a big heart in terms of an emotional or physically? I don't know. I don't think you necessarily have to. Some cyclists physically had bigger hearts, like Indurain, Miguel Indurain. But you got to have the talent. That's the bottom line. Oh, I think it's more courage than anything. You got to be able to suffer, because that's really what separates the guys at the top, because they all do the same kind of work. You got to be able to suffer, and you got to be smart. The French call it tête à jambe, head and legs. You don't just ride. Use your head. Know when. Timing is critical. Know when to go. What's a good distance when you're riding someone's wheel? About a foot, the size of your shoe or less. As long as you don't overlap, it doesn't matter. The faster I go, the closer I get. I can get within an inch. If I'm riding with a very experienced rider and the wind's coming from the side, then I can overlap in an echelon, and you let the rider know. A lot of it, you don't have to talk. They know if the wind's coming from the side. These guys who ride on the weekend, they just ride bikes. They're not racers. They don't know a lot of the etiquette. So I don't overlap them. And, so I stay within about 6 inches, 6 to 12 inches is reasonable. Anything further than that, you're not benefiting from the draft. Then you're working harder than you should. I'm fit enough to do that, but still that doesn't make sense. So I don't do that. I stay within a foot or closer. So last weekend's ride, we're on the highway when Paul was filming me behind Mark. I was on him like 6 inches. He rides like this. He goes over the white line, comes back to the edge of the shoulder, just moving back and forth. That's the way he rides. That's not proper, because you're just wasting energy. It takes energy to ride sideways. You end up covering more miles, I guess. Maybe it looks good on Strava. I don't know. But it's just inefficient. Why go this way and this way? I want to go straight. You see the pros when they're climbing and the road curves. They don't go with the curve. They cut the corner. They want the shortest route. He's going all over the road. So people that ride like that, I don't overlap them. I don't, even when the wind's blowing from the side, because I expect him to come over. So I make sure that's what they call protecting your front wheel. I keep my front wheel from overlapping his wheel at all times, at all costs. And that's what I do with this group, because they're not former racers. They don't have the structure to understand what we talk about on this channel. They're just guys that ride bikes. So there are a lot of guys that are strong, don't understand cycling. I want you guys to understand that. Just because somebody's fast on a bike doesn't mean they're a student of the sport. You know more than they do. They're out there. We call them PTJR, people that just ride bikes. They're not legends. All right, let's see here. Todd Morrell said, by the way, greetings from Jamaica, Queens, in the 30s here in New York City, most on the train except for my work commute. Yeah, 30s, yeah. Probably feels cooler because you're on the coast, in New York area, that, you know, the East Coast. Probably what we had here is drifting up there. That front that came through this weekend is supposed to go up there. It came down from Canada, and then it's moving. It went to the Carolinas, I believe. If it's just very cold, it's just better get on the trainer, put some time in. The quality's high. There's no intersections and stuff like that. And just go out when you're just tired of being on the trainer on the weekend, go spin around. Just being out on the bike. You don't have to be focused on anything in particular. Get out. But just be consistent. Use your body. You know, let's see here. This is John Marino. Hello, my brother. What's your opinion on one-buy systems for road? I have no idea what one-buy systems are. Sounds like a product. Not sure what it does or what it is. You'd have to give me more information, John. I mean, I can look it up. Let's see here. One-buy systems. They got a lot of crap out there. Don't feel like you got to buy all of them. These people are trying to sell you snake oil. Just get a bicycle and ride. One-buy systems for bikes. I'm getting on Google to see if I can find it. The bicycle as a system. One-buy system. It picks up. It brought up a bunch of trainers. I don't know if they're indoor trainers or not. Didn't really bring up anything. So I don't know what that is. Let's see here. My feel is that I'm going to need a longer stem. This is Nicholas Rizos. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And more setback on the saddle on one of the bikes. The problem is that the frame has an integrated seat post with no more setback. Yeah, Paul has the same problem with the Giant, I believe. He contacted them. They don't have additional seat posts. They told him to get a bigger frame. Right. You know, yeah. Those proprietary seat posts, they limit you. And then it's like, we'll see if we can get it to work. You know, it's hard to say. Wesley wants to know, does your fit service include component or Grupo sourcing, or is that left to the fabricator? You will be given the choice of whether you want to have it sourced or whether you want a complete bike. Because the thing is that the way I'm doing it is when the bike is ready, I'd prefer, if you're not local, I prefer he ships the whole bike to you ready to go, as opposed to trying to source it, because he provides frame set only. Wesley's asking about the custom stuff, and I'll cover all of that when I do the video and when I put the service on the website. I don't want to be dealing with sourcing stuff, having the bike shipped here, then have to ship it to somebody. I just assume he build that bike and ship it to you. Now, if you want to source your own stuff and get it to him, I guess I could find out if he'll deal with that. I doubt if he'll install it for you. So it would probably just be a complete bike. And then you can tell us what Grupo you want, whether you want, because he provides everything. If you want to buy just a frame set, the assumption will be that you will have it built up locally, because I will only be sizing the frame set. We're not going to be sourcing components. It's just not practical. You know, he doesn't source components. He has them there, but he will build the whole bike together. So I think what you meant is, let's see, include component or group of sourcing, or is that left to the fabricator? So yeah, the fabricator will do all the sourcing of the group set. We'll find out what group set you want. There will always be people that say, I only want the frame set, and that's fine. We'll accommodate that. He'll build it and just ship it to you, and then you build it up because he's very thorough. His frame sets are easy to put together. So a local bike shop could do that for $150 if somebody wanted to do that. Because some people may have a bike that has components they want to just transfer to the new one. We don't want to talk them out of it. So yeah, so he will do all the sourcing. I will just take care of your fit and make sure that we get the right frame for you, and make sure that I fill out all his paperwork, because his online stuff is very extensive, and the average person will have challenges filling it out. I do all of that and send it in to him. Makes his life easier. He can do one CAD drawing. We're ready to go. You know, so yeah. So all of that will be handled. All the sourcing is handled by the builder. Let's see here. So the gentleman who asked, John Marino, you need to tell me about this one. Maybe you can send an email to the channel. This One Buy Systems, whatever they are. I typed it in on Google. It didn't really bring up anything other than trainers. You know, indoor trainers. So I'm not sure, in different models. Okay. Grippy is cold. Okay. G-R-I-P-P. He should have just said cold. You know, it's kind of like what Ron is talking about. Somebody wrote something and said grippy, G-R-I-P-P-E, meaning cold. Just say cold. You know, like the guys who, you guys got like, what's his name? Cedric the Entertainer. I was watching him on Netflix, and he said dope. The word dope somehow means good. Now, I'm like, who came up with that nonsense? How does the word dope means good? Makes no sense. You know, I'm like, you know, we need a separate dictionary now. Like, you know, I looked at Cedric. I'm like, come on, man, you're too old for this crap. But it's dope. I hate to hear that. It just sounds ignorant. You want to say it's good? Say it's good. Oh, it's great. Oh, it's cool. Like, it's dope. I'm like, who came up with that? You know, dope, it means drugs. You doped up. How is that good? Yeah, you know, so it's like everybody jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, it's dope. It's dope. That's supposed to be. I'm like, please, give me a break. You know, when I was growing up, we could say, hey, it's gay, meaning it's a glorious, happy day. I'm you know, feeling gay. Now you can't say that anymore because it means something else. You know, what is that? Oh, now grippy means cold. Barry Coolin says, good morning, everyone. I'm from Malaysia. Well, welcome. I'm a 100-kilogram heavy rider. 100 kg. Yeah, you're heavier than me, but there are heavier people than that. We had a guy who was 110 last week. I tried to drop off at climb. I need to put extra effort to keep up. But in the end, at long distance, I will wear off quicker. I'm not sure what he's trying to share with us, but yeah, if you're a big rider, you're not going to beat a fit, smaller rider who's adept at climbing. You're not going to be the first up the climb because your body type is just not for that terrain. So what you do is you got to stay under control and wait for the descent, because you will drop like a stone. He will be struggling. You know, so I think that's, you trying to say that if you try to, you have to do more. You have to put more power to carry that weight. Eddie Merckx had the same problem when he was competing against Luis O'Connor and all those guys in his day. So on the descent in a race, he uses descending skills against a climber like a Pantani type. His name was Luis O'Connor, and he dropped the guy. He was pushing so hard, the guy crashed. It was raining, and the guy crashed and basically crashed out of the race. It wasn't Merckx's fault because he was trying to keep up with Merckx on the descent. You know, so Merckx waited for the descent and went to the front to lead the descent and use his superior descending skills and his weight that he had to carry up that mountain to carry more speed. So he was going so fast in these corners, O'Connor could not keep up and ended up crashing out of the race. So you have to ride in the terrain. You have to make your move. Man, I said about timing. Make your move where it benefits you. Don't attack at the bottom of a long climb. Wait till near the top. Then you will capitalize on the descent if you're a big guy. You know, but you got to be fit to be close. You still got to work at it. All right. Paul says, I'm A+. You're up there with Mo and Jerry, etc. Serious and strong around in the area, spring the woodlands. So Paul says, yeah, A+. But, you know, the key is that I think it's great to have A+, B+, C+ in a group, because that's how the younger riders will learn. They'll have goals, the ambitious ones. I want to keep up with that guy. Then he might come and ask you, you know, what are you guys doing? Where do you ride? That kind of stuff. That's the thing. That's how you know who's ambitious. The people who don't come and ask, when I was riding early on, I was always asking the guys who were in the front, trying to get information. Some of them were very forthright, you know. So if people don't ask, you're not going to know. And they're just not interested. They come out and they make the same mistake every week. We talk about it all the time. They come out, they get dropped in the same spot every week. And they still haven't figured out I need to do something different, you know. And I'm like, they're not serious. If you want to get better, you got to do something different. You can't come and pull in a group, and then as soon as you're done pulling, you get dropped. But then you come back every week and you do the same thing. At what point do you realize maybe I shouldn't be pulling in this group? You know? And the funny thing is, all the heavy hitters are sitting and watching these guys kill themselves. And then when we really start to ride, they can't hang on. Then we got to wait and this and that. After a while, people get tired waiting. So a lot of riders just kind of break off, go do their own thing on that Saturday ride. That's why when you watch the film, certain time we're coming back, there's only 4 or 5, because people just got tired of waiting. Because these guys, some of them are not learning. You know, you don't want to be one of those guys. It's really very simple. If you're not at the level of the group, you need to sit in, draft. You're better off sitting in the draft for a long ride than pulling and getting dropped, because you're not going to be as fit riding by yourself, because your speed will slow down so much. So it's better to sit in, be conservative, and pay attention and learn. And each week, you'll go further and further. And once you can handle the ride, then you start taking some short pulls and doing that, you know. So let's see here. Nicholas Rises, how long are the rails on your SMP? It's about 10 centimeters. Yeah, it's 10 centimeters. It's one of the longer rails out there on saddles. Research impossible to make that bike fit. I'm not investing on it. Just need to know. Yeah, the SMP has one of the longer rails out there. It's 10 centimeters, 100 millimeters. Very long. But the biggest thing is that you need a good setback seat post. My challenge with your proprietary stuff, Paul had the same problem with the Giant. They just don't provide anything more slack than what he has on there. So he was able to have, he had no problems on the Scatante, which is an Italian bike. And he got a regular, he got an FSA, which is what I have on the Colnago. I had to do the same thing you're trying to do, Nicholas, on the Colnago. It's 72.75. Almost 73. I cannot ride a bike any more aggressive than a 73 to get my saddle right. And the Colnago was right a little below there. So I bought that FSA so I wouldn't max out my rails. And I do use a big chunk of it. So when you look at the Colnago, the seat is like that. Whereas you look at my other bikes, I have straight seat posts because we did 70 saddle setback. And that's the reason I went custom. And, you know, the custom was actually less than the bikes they're selling on the shelf. So, you know, that's another reason why we're bringing Kish to you guys, because you spend less money and you get exactly what you need for you. And that bike is lively. I take that bike out, the titanium bike, I take it out when the ride means something. And it's a whole different animal. It's just very stiff and comfortable at the same. It's frisky. It's just kind of hard to describe. Titanium, some guy named, what is his name? He has a channel here on YouTube. He borrowed a clip from our channel here, and he used it. Forgot his name right now, but he made a clip about a titanium bike. He called it, he said, it's its own thing. And I saw the video. He sent me the link, and I saw the video, and I told him that's the best way I can describe it. It rides like nothing else. You can't compare titanium to anything else. It's just right. This titanium is different. Steel's different. Carbon's different. Now, different carbons can get the feel like the qualities of other things, but still, they're all different. And not all carbons created equal. So if you're into carbon, get the good ones. Get the ones that are proven. The branding, they'll have to have the engineering behind it. Not just any old bike that's carbon. It means that it's super light or very responsive. You'll be disappointed. All right, let's see here. Can't complain about our cold in California. This is Randy Hongo. Well, depending on where you are in California, your cold is, I would call what we call kind of mild, mid-weight stuff. It's not really too bad, you know, unless you go up north in California. But yeah, it's stuff like arm warmers weather and base layer. And then you go inland and then you got a shed. So yeah, it's very tolerable. I'm thinking like San Diego area. I spent a lot of time there. On the coast, it's cool. And then when you go inland, it warms up. You know, let's see here. Jesse Bellman says no front mech. I'm not sure what that means. Oh, one by. Okay. Okay, got you. Oh, Jesse's explaining what one by means. Okay, I got you. Thank you. I appreciate that. One by. I'm familiar with that phrase. What he's saying is, so somebody had asked, John Marino said, what's your opinion on one by system for road bikes? I think they're fine. A lot of cyclocross riders use what you call a one by. We call it a single chain ring, and some people call it 1X. I guess that's what he means. I hadn't heard it referred to like that. So that's cool. You learn something new every day. They're fine. Just choose the front chain ring that you can handle, because your front chain ring in combination with the rear cassette will give you the range of gears for you. So a lot of the guys might do it 44, 48. You know, they're not going to be doing 53 and that kind of big stuff because they don't have an inner. So they get a mid-range one for the terrain. I see that a lot on cyclocross. A lot of those guys have one because that's good enough. So yeah, they will work. But now, for a bike for the road, though, I think that's what your question is. It limits your gearing so much. So if you climb and you're coming downhill, that 53, 15, 14 is really handy. It depends on the terrain. So you're going to have to make a decision. The reason why the cyclocross people use it is they're going through mud, sand, grass, whatever. They're not climbing mountains. So that works great for them. So you really need to think about it for the road. I don't know how the application would transfer. It would work on the bike, but it might limit you when you're out there, you know. So it's I think it's best for cyclocross for that discipline. Well, they don't have a lot of the variability is limited. They do a course where they know ahead of time what they're going to be dealing with. So they'll put a 44 on there. I think that's fairly common. They all have like something that most of them use. And the reason they came up with it is they found they weren't using the 34 and the other one that were too small. So they're like, I'm not using this, and this one's too big, so let's just do one. They ended up using one chain ring most of the time. They're like, why am I carrying the other one? That's why they went to that. But for the road bike, I think you need two, because if you're doing long adventure rides, varying terrain, yeah, you need more gear for the road. So be cautious about that. All right. Thanks, Jesse. I appreciate that. Yeah, one by. Yeah, got you. John Marino wanted me single chain. Yeah, John came and answered to. Okay, so did Rodney. And so, yeah, okay, good. So let's see. Shram introduced the one by system. Yeah, I mean, it's going to come down to what chain ring you put on there that you think will be enough for you, because I'll use me, for example, when I'm using the 3953. I find that with the 1228 in the rear, I ride the 5325 to about the 16 in my area. That's what I use. So for me, for example, yeah, if I had say maybe an 1132, I could probably just ride in this area with a 53. So yeah, I guess you could do that. But it is still limiting, because there are areas where we come across a 10, 11% climb, like Chapel Hill, and one area we went where I needed the small chain ring, and that one, then you're like, man, grinding. That's the only thing. So it can work, but it just seems too gimmicky. And I don't see what you're really saving on a road bike. The chain ring doesn't weigh that much. So why would I limit myself? Now, I kind of like having that little fallback inner chain ring. Okay, that's kind of what I think. I don't see the major benefit for a road bike per se, but cyclocross, it makes sense because that's very specific. Okay, let's see here. I hope that clears it up. So it's a toss-up. Just because SRAM or Shimano comes up with stuff doesn't mean you need to jump on board. Those guys trying to sell you, they're trying to take your money. You know, hang on to your money. They keep coming up with new things. Paul and I were talking about, I got a 6S, Apple iPhone 6S, pristine. Then they came up with the 7 in a little while, and you know, then they came up with the 8 and the 10. Now they got another one. They call it X or something. I'm like, please, I can't keep up. You know, it's like every 6 months I change in socks. You know, like come on, these things. Okay, now there's something I'm going to come to. I actually like what I saw. Okay, 1x11 is one chain 11. Okay. Rodney Shram introduced Abdullah Jimenez. Which group set is good for a beginner? Which group set? Your budget. They're all pretty good. Just find the one you can afford. You know, beginner. Whether you're a beginner or not, it comes down to your budget. It doesn't matter who you are. Get one that will last. So if you're doing Shimano, I would recommend Ultegra. It has the benefits of Dura-Ace, some of the technology there, and it's a little up, you know. But if you can't afford Ultegra, 105 will be fine. Paul has 105 on the Cervelo. It came with that. We didn't try to upgrade. It works fine. Until it breaks, we're not going to be doing anything. There's no reason. It works fine. So just your budget, what you want to spend. But don't spend to where you can't ride. That's my mantra. Don't buy so much stuff to where you got to work 3 jobs to pay for them. No. Buy what would let you be able to ride your bike. That's what's good for a beginner or anybody. Let's see. Shram introduced the 1x. Okay. Okay, now DPC2 said it's wicked in the UK. It's saying for dope. I don't know if that's, yeah. In the UK, they always say wicked. I think that's really cool. I've heard that. I used to watch Wheeler Dealers on TV, and when something really cool, somebody came across something really cool, instead of saying it's cool in the UK, they would say that's wicked, you know. And I guess, yeah. So now he said, I guess it's dope. Dope just doesn't seem to work. It just seems to be somebody just came up with something and tried to shoehorn it. It's dope. You know, how much thought was put into that? All right, let's see. Abdullah Mina, if you're descending, which position do you need to be in? I'm not sure there's a particular decision. I mean, when you're descending as far as your position, you can be on the tops or in the drops. I mean, you know, I don't do all that stuff where they sit on the top tube and snake themselves under the saddle. And I stay in the drops and lower my torso and just make sure my bike is stable. You know, not everything the pros do, you got to do. Those guys, even Sagan had a crash last year at the Tour, and he had to be nursed by his teammates through the race. Anybody can fall off the bike. Just be careful. Practice whatever you're going to do. And, you know, if you're on a road that's shared with other motor vehicles, don't do anything dangerous just to save a 1/10 of a second or whatever they think they're saving. So you're not at the pro level to take that kind of risk. And even those guys at the pro level, some of the team manager will tell them, don't risk your whole season over stuff like that. There's a lot of guys like Lance. When Lance won the world championship, we lived in Austin at the time, and Lance was supposed to be riding to get ready for the Tour. This is after the world championship. He was supposed to be training on his road bike. It was November. He was supposed to be doing road mile. He started doing mountain biking, and his coach was Jim Ochowicz at the time. And the coach heard about it in just one phone call. Like, what are you doing? You know, and I'm like, oh, okay. Because mountain biking is more dangerous than the road. And the coach was like, you can risk your whole season. So, yeah, put your hands in the drops, lower your nose, keep your butt on the saddle. Practice that before you do anything else, because it sounds like you're new. And get yourself a coach so you can, you know, you can learn. Go ride your bike so you can have focus. Let's see here. All right. Nicholas, I like technology, gadgets, and improvement in general. I've got second thoughts on frames, though. I've been researching about metal frames, and I'm impressed with the customization handcraft. Yeah, there's a lot of builders out there. They can build you a steel frame. Will be a work of art. There's a guy named Ellis. They're called Ellis Cycles. It's pricey because he's building you a work of art, beautiful lug work and all that kind of stuff. So that's the kind of stuff I want to spend my dollars on. These plastic bikes, there's only so much they can do with them. But a steel bike that's built by a builder, man, it looks like this is like going and getting a car from the 50s and restoring it. That kind of beauty. You guys in California know what I'm talking about. You can get a steel bike made and it's just beautiful. It just sings to you. You know, I rode my Colnago today. We're talking about it. And I was in the yard, and you know how when you stop or you're doing like a little turn and your foot kind of overlaps the tire? None of that on the Colnago, because the fork rake is like this, to where there's so much room. I can stand and turn that front wheel. It doesn't come near my shoe, and with the pedal horizontal. There's some bike, my blue bike, it will hit my foot. So I got to be real careful with that. But we're just talking about it when we got back. There's just certain things they don't cut corners on. So the Colnago is the most comfortable frame I own. You know, if I'm riding for days on end, that's the bike I go to. Soaks up everything. You know, so yeah. I mean, you know, they're lighting the bikes. That's why the UCI had a limit, or they would have kept making them lighter to where they'd be unsafe. Your bike needs to weigh something. If it's too light, it becomes unsafe. And that's why the UCI set a cap, because they saw that happening with carbon. They were just getting lighter and lighter, you know. And so they're trying to keep those guys safe. That's why they limited. I think it's like 6 point something, was around 16 pounds, thereabout. It's not just about weight, the handling. Jesse Bellman says, on a road bike, on a crit, you don't use the small chain ring. Yeah, it's flat. And I have my road bike set one by, I don't need to worry about. Yeah, well, you're on a crit. You're not climbing. You're going around a city block. Yeah, that makes sense. And I have a big chain ring. Yeah. Yeah, you don't. I mean, where I ride, I need a small chain ring. I mean, today we went up Capitol Hill, 5.5%, 4 hours into the ride. I needed a small chain ring. What he's saying is, in a criterium, which is usually held downtown, city block, wherever, however they do it, is a flat course, it's speed, RPMs, repeated, you know, it's fast work, acceleration, handling, that's critical. A road racer's endurance is baggage in that competition. So when you're doing crits, you back off the endurance, you focus on speed and intervals. That's hard work. It's high-end stuff. If you have not built the tolerance and the adaptability for that, you won't last, because they're doing them repeatedly. So you need to be able to do that for the entire. They're about an hour sometimes, mostly. So you need to be able to go hard for an hour or more, you know, a little over that. You don't need to ride 4 hours, you know, when you train. You need to do fast riding, and you go do that. And you train yourself to go above threshold and be able to tolerate clearing the lactate. That's what criterions are, just going fast. So yes, what he says, I only put one chainring on there. That's fine. He chose to do that, you know, but yeah, you never use the small chainring, but there aren't too many people doing what he talked about, because it's like they're using that bike not just for a criterion. Maybe he has that bike strictly for a criterion. He has another bike if he does road racing. But some people that only got one, they'll just leave it the same and just go. And they might change the rear cluster and make them tighter, you know, like an 1123 or something like that, you know, keep it tight, because you don't need the variability. So you have to do it for the discipline you're in, consistent with what I said earlier. So Randy says, we're going to be wrapping up. Let's see, it's 18:09. In a few minutes, we'll be wrapping up here. What are your thoughts on changing out the handlebars? Why are you changing your handlebars? What do you mean changing out? Oh, I guess you don't like what's there. I use aluminum handlebars. I tried carbon handlebars, ended up crashing because it had a catastrophic failure that I wasn't aware of what's going on. It may have fallen at some point. It may have had a crack in there that I couldn't tell. And one day on a ride, it just, and I ended up falling. So all my bikes have regular round aluminum handlebars. So if you want to change yours out, is it because, I guess maybe the one that came, maybe something you just don't like. But if your hands are big, get a deep drop set so you can have room. The shallow ones are good for people with smaller hands. So yeah, you can change them out. Carbon bars are very expensive. They're like 200 and some bucks. Sometimes I see them 180. My aluminum bars are like 55 bucks. They don't weigh that much, you know. So yeah, so there's nothing wrong with changing them. Just make sure you size them for you. There's a video on the channel on sizing your handlebars. You can search for that. Get the right size. Don't get it too narrow. You need to be comfortable. Yeah. Rodolfo Ramirez. Hi, Master Legend. Everyone on the channel. Hey, Rodolfo. Forgot. Nicholas says, I got the second thoughts from your video about frame materials. How market forces work. From 110, why bother less than 1? Yeah. Yeah. 1 kilogram. Yeah. Larry Earp, how often should I change my brake pads on my conventional bike and cable lines? If you're not leaving the bike outside for like the cables to get rusted or whatever, I keep my bikes inside. I don't change them. They just stay there. I don't. Nowadays, most of the newer brake cables come with Teflon. They're coated, so they don't stick in the housing. Unless you're having a problem, you don't need to mess with them. Those brakes on the rim, I've never had to change the pads. You know, because we don't lock up our brakes that often. You don't really use them. You just use them to slow you down. You kind of tap them, and most of the time in a group you drift out. So they'll go for years. You only need to change them out if they wear down. You know, you can see the rubber. There's no particular interval. It depends on your use. But with carbon rims, do not use the pads you use on aluminum rims if you switch your carbon rims on your bike. Carbon rims come with their own pads. You can push the pads out and put the carbon rim pads in the same brake holder. Okay? Do not do that because there are little metal filings that get in the brake pads from the aluminum rims that will chew up your carbon. Plus, a lot of the manufacturers of the high-end carbon, they ship them with a pad that they recommend you use to keep you under warranty. And it's not a fluke. You need those pads. They just work better with the carbon. They don't damage your rims. That's important. But other than that, you just ride your bike. The pads, those pads last for so long. You know, you'd have to be doing something special for them to just wear down. They don't wear that easily. We're not on the brakes that much. Think about it. Our biggest challenge is going faster. We don't have trouble stopping those bikes. It's going fast. That's what we spend most of the time trying to do. You know, so yeah, they should last a long time, years and years. Wesley Stevens said, notice the welding on Kish bikes are not smooth or seamless. Is that just his welding technique? I'm not sure which bike you're talking about. Mine looked fine. I don't know. Maybe you saw one of his cross bikes or something. I'm not sure. I'd have to look at I didn't really notice that on my road bike. He makes all kinds of gravel bikes and all kinds of stuff. So, Frosty once said, broke 2 rear spokes over last month on wheel set that came with Canon. They think the wheel is worn out. 3,600. Just breaking the spoke doesn't mean it's worn out. What it could mean is that it just needs to be rebalanced and have all the tension in the spokes balanced. So you could probably take it to a bike shop and have them check the tension, because really, unless you have a damaged rim or something, I'm not sure why they're breaking. It's a symptom of a bigger problem, unless it was an off chance, but you say you broke multiple. So let them check the tension. And usually it's the non-drive side that is weaker. They need to make sure the tension is balanced, but any shop can do that. I'm not one for throwing things away unless it's thoroughly not worth fixing. And 3,600 miles is not much. I've got a pair of wheels. I got 2 sets of wheels from 2006. I couldn't begin to tell you how many miles on it, but 2006, that's 12 years. They're Campagnolo Urus. I've replaced 1 spoke on the front wheel that broke because of I had to lock up the brakes in some subdivision, and it put a lot of pressure on it. But that's what I rode today. 12 years old. And I ride 9,000 kilometers, 10,000 kilometers a year, thereabouts. So yeah, don't do it, but just take it in and let them see if they can retension that whole side and get it balanced. Something's not balanced. That's why it's breaking, or maybe a damaged hub. And if it gets to that point, then you can weigh the cost benefit of fixing it versus getting a new one. Because nowadays you can get Campagnolo Zonda wheels for about $400 for a set. And that's a bargain. They're good wheels. That's why I ride on the weekends with these boys. The Zondas. That's why I rode this weekend. I was singing with my Vittorias. So yeah, if it gets to where it's excessive for you to fix, then you just get a new wheel and you're better off. All right, let's see here. We're going to just try to finish these and wrap up. We're done pretty much. Notice the welding. I talked about that. And then Anthony Tomasello made it. Well, we're wrapping up, Anthony. You can join us on Friday. A suggestion, if it's possible, could you do a video with a custom bike builder? Well, the guy lives in the Carolinas, so, you know, I'm going to do a video about the process of building the bikes, what you have to go through to do and what we're going to be doing. But I can't have him on video. It's not practical. Let's see about the handcraft possibility of different tubes and geometry. Okay. Yeah, I'll cover all of that. It's a custom bike. It's not just him. All the custom builders will give you what you want. Like I said earlier, my bikes that are custom, the seat tube was 70 degrees. You're not going to find that in a shop anywhere. I had him drop that seat tube way back so I could use a straight seat post and put my saddle in the middle. Okay, he'll build it if you know what you want. You know, once you send in your measurements and so forth, we'll tell him what you need for you and what problems you're having with your current bike. And that's what he asks on his site. What problem you're having. All the builders do that, not just him. That's the whole point of going custom. They build what you want within reason. If you ask for something crazy, these guys ride bikes. They're not just building bikes. They're cyclists too. So they know what's reasonable. You ask for something that just won't work, they'll tell you why it's not a good idea to do that. You know, you don't want to get too crazy with the stuff. So let's see. Abdullahi, I'm glad you special skill to weld, no brazing of filing. Yeah. Oh, I tell you what, his bike, I think I mentioned it earlier, it's almost like a Timex, meaning from the time his bike's 2 years old. I don't do anything to it. It just rides. Quiet, it sings. Yeah, that's you know, I will be getting another one from him. I will be getting something that will hold a 32 road tire. That's my goal, because I want something that I can ride in the dirt as well. And same kind of paint job where the heavy traffic areas will have no paint. I like that styling. But yeah, he knows what he's doing. It's the easiest bike I ever built. Easy, no hassle. So yeah, he knows what he's doing. Very meticulous guy. Knows what he's doing. Not everybody can weld titanium very well. And he gives you a lifetime warranty. Not too many people giving you lifetime warranty. I see why, because there's nothing wrong with the frame. I'm hard on frames. I told him when he was building, I said, I'm hard on frame. If it's weak, I'm going to find the weak point. You know, because I'm a big guy. I'm 190 pounds. I'm actually losing weight. I got down to 86 kilos. I've been 87 kilos. I weighed myself. I'm 86 kilos. So I lost 2 pounds the last 3 weeks. That's what Paul been dragging me out. We've been putting a lot of Ks in. How many energy bars do you need for a long ride, like 4 hours? At least 4. Do it as a gauge, 1 for every hour. Okay, we're wrapping up. We're done. You guys have a good evening. We're going to hook up in a couple of days. I will schedule another one. I want to thank everybody. Chris, Roxbury. I want to thank Nicholas, our newest super legend. And, of course, Wesley Stephen for supporting the channel. We appreciate it. You guys have a good night. Thanks, Christopher. I appreciate the questions that you send. And I think this is a great format because it's almost like we sat for 2 hours and made a lot of videos. Because that's why I take the time to answer these questions in detail. Each question is like a video topic. So instead of me wondering what video to make, I don't have to do that on these sessions. I do these little mini videos. Every answer is a mini video. It may not be complete, and the people who need special stuff can go to the website and, you know, jump on our services and different things. But this way, we're all talking about what we're interested in. So we're going to hang out again in a couple of days. In the meantime, you got to get your Ks in on the trainer or on the road. No excuses. Harden up and do it. You guys in the cold weather areas, just think about it this way. In spring, you're going to be flying. We're out. Take care.